If there's one thing for certain, that was not a predictable Royal Rumble. But yes, the 2025 Royal Rumble is done, and what an event it was. Certainly has a mixed reaction online. Some people loved the winners, other people hated it, but we are going to take a look at your hot takes, which I ask you every single week after Raw, SmackDown, and PLEs to submit any thoughts, concerns, or whatever else you may have on the show, and then we sit down right here, we talk about them, roast them, critique them, or agree with them. It's a great time. So if you'd like for your opinion to be heard, be sure to follow me over on X at Conman167. But without further ado, let's get into your hot takes. Now, I am running off of like 2 hours of sleep, so if I happen to stumble my way through this video, that's why. But let's kick things off right here with Broken Tavo saying, one of the greatest Royal Rumbles. Nobody knew who was going to win. John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns all had the same chance, and none of them won. It's actually so wild that none of those top tier players won the Royal Rumble. We were talking about so many different directions we could go in for WrestleMania. You know, if John Cena won it, if CM Punk won, if Roman Reigns won, Drew McIntyre, literally all those people that you just named, we were talking about a scenario at WrestleMania if they won the Royal Rumble, and most of them made sense. But the one person we weren't talking a lot about was Jey Uso, and I love that Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble, okay? I understand that there's a bit of a mixed reaction online when it comes to Jey winning this thing. People wanted to see John Cena win the Royal Rumble in his final year, but let's also say that the same fans who are probably like, hey, I wanted John Cena to win, would probably be upset if John Cena won, because they'd be like, oh great, a part-timer, a guy who's at the end of his time in WWE is coming in and stealing a spot from main event Jey Uso. There would have been jokes about how Jey Uso is main event Jey Uso, but is not gonna main event WrestleMania, and that's still gonna happen, because like, let's be real, I don't think Jey Uso is going to main event WrestleMania. Is probably gonna like open it up against Gunther, but hey, for the World Heavyweight title, I'm here for it. But you just know those jokes would have been flowing, right? And the fact that Jey Uso won this shows that we are in a bit of a different WWE right now. Even with this last time is now story, the final run of John Cena in his final time in WWE and his final Royal Rumble in WWE, like, he didn't win. They gave the win to a younger star, which, to be honest, we have been clamoring for years, for decades, for WWE to start putting over the next generation of stars. And when you do it right, you create a new star, and that is exactly what happened at the Royal Rumble. With Jey Uso finally winning this thing, he is going to be able to finish his own story against Gunther. And I know people are like, this just happened at Saturday night's main event. This wasn't even like a top tier match that they were building to. They just gave it away on Saturday. No, I don't think that's the way to look at it. I think we have to look at it this way, that Jey Uso has been fighting for this World Heavyweight Championship. He's been doing everything he possibly can to try to get those opportunities. And when that opportunity came around, he missed it by this much. Now he's won the Royal Rumble, and he's able to go after Gunther again, go at WrestleMania, and win the World Heavyweight title. Like, this is going to be Jey Uso's moment at Mania. It needs to be, and we need to see what a true main event player Jey Uso is. This is easily a sink or swim situation for Jey. They know he's over. They know that the fans are behind Jey Uso. They now need to see, can Jey Uso deliver in a main event way on the grandest stage of them all? And if he can, we have a new star. This is not the prodigy. This is the future of WWE. Roxanne Perez, to me, was the MVP of the Women's Royal Rumble. Lasted the longest for a woman in a Rumble match in history, and she crushed it. Yes, I think we can all officially say welcome to the main roster, Roxanne Perez, entering at number 3 in the Royal Rumble and lasting all the way until the very end before being eliminated by Charlotte Flair. Roxanne Perez is a star in the making, and WWE knows that they have a very, very great talent. That's not great English, but anyways, they have a great talent in Roxanne Perez. It's only a matter of time before WWE pulls the trigger on Roxanne. I imagine she's going to be fighting Lyra Valkyria for that IC championship, or Chelsea Green for the United States championship very, very soon. But if they decide to go in a different direction, they could skip that entire mid-card for Roxanne Perez and push her right up into the main event scene. Like, I don't think anybody would be against Roxanne Perez against Rhea Ripley, or Roxanne Perez versus Liv Morgan, or Roxanne Perez versus Io Sky. Like, there's a bunch of matches immediately available. Hell, we didn't even talk about Roxanne versus Nia, Roxanne versus Tiffany, Roxanne versus Charlotte. The list goes on and on. Roxanne versus Bianca, Roxanne versus Naomi. You get the gist. There's a lot of matchups available for Roxanne Perez. And she's done absolutely everything that she can down in NXT, so it's time to move her on up to the main roster. Looks like we're getting a feud with Bayley as well, which is an excellent way to introduce Roxanne Perez. And the fact that I didn't even mention Bayley with all those names I said a minute ago is wild. But I expect big things for Roxanne Perez. I think she is going to be a future women's champion, and she's going to be in WWE and be a mainstay in WWE for probably the next decade plus. She's still so young, incredibly talented. All I got to say is I'm happy to see Roxanne Perez on the main roster. She deserves it, and she deserved this epic run in the Royal Rumble. Fine show. Both number 30 entrants felt like a waste, but overall, I don't mind that Jay won. Plus, picture this in Toronto inside the Elimination Chamber. John Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, or AJ Styles. Your head would explode. So this is kind of a two-parter. Let's start with the first part first. Number 30, being wasted in the Royal Rumble. I've seen this take by a lot of people online. A lot of people were not a fan of Nikki Bella being the 30th entrant in the Women's Rumble and Logan Paul being the 30th entrant in the Men's Royal Rumble. For the men's, I understand why they went in the direction of Logan Paul being number 30. He's a guy that the fans just simply don't like, and unless you were going to have a big surprise or a big moment at number 30, you might as well go for heat, right? It's the easiest way to get heat on somebody when the fans don't necessarily want to see this person be the final entrant in the Royal Rumble. And Logan Paul being the last person to enter the Royal Rumble pissed a lot of people off, and that's kind of the point with him being a heel. For the women, though, it was a weird placement for Nikki Bella, because Nikki Bella coming back is a big deal. It's great to see Nikki Bella. It's one of those things that when you had Nikki Bella in WWE, you maybe didn't love everything that she was doing, but then when you look back at it, you're like, man, she really did carry the women's division, or the Divas division, for a long time, and she continued to evolve her game and get better and better, to the point that she is criminally underrated in the eyes of the fans. The fans just hear the name Bella and they're like, oh my God, the Bella twins. It just takes us back to a time when wrestling wasn't necessarily taken as seriously for the women's division. At least management didn't care to make it be taken seriously. But that's a time that we remember, and we don't remember fondly, but Nikki Bella was essentially the face of that time. So having her come back at number 30 didn't necessarily give her the pop and the reaction that was deserved for her, but at the same time, it was because people wanted to see AJ Lee. The internet did it again. We talked it up during the stream as well. Lots of people speculated if AJ Lee was going to be there, and we kind of got our hopes up. And this is one of those scenarios where WWE never hinted that AJ Lee was going to be coming back. It was just fans talking amongst fans, and then it was wrestlers leaning into it because that's what wrestlers do. Workers be workers. And so while everybody was kind of hoping for an AJ Lee, when you saw Nikki Bella and you heard her theme song, it couldn't help feel like a bit of a disappointment, but it wasn't because it was Nikki Bella. It was just simply because it was number 30 and everybody wanted to see AJ Lee. Nikki Bella, I think, looked great. She's honestly, like I said, one of the most underrated women's wrestlers. Like, she's very, very good at what she does. Her power game got better and better while she was in WWE, and it's just unfortunate that her return to the ring was in a spot where people were hoping it was going to be a different legend coming back. But now on to the second part. Picture this inside the Elimination Chamber in Toronto. Cena, Reigns, Punk, Rollins, McIntyre, Zayn, or Styles. My God, I want to see that. With Jey Uso winning the Men's Royal Rumble, that opens up the Elimination Chamber to be one of the most stacked Elimination Chambers in WWE history, especially if there's a shot at the WWE Championship at WrestleMania on the line. Can you imagine the amount of attention and how damn good and how exciting this match would be? Like, all of those names inside the Elimination Chamber were the people that we thought maybe could win the Royal Rumble. Yeah, we had Jey Uso ranked right at the bottom of all the people that we see maybe winning the Royal Rumble, but it was all the other people above him that we thought, hey, these people have better stories going into WrestleMania. those stories still exist. We can still get to them, right? All we have to do is put on a banger of an Elimination Chamber and have the right person win with the right story going into WrestleMania to face Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. And I will be at Elimination Chamber in Toronto, so if you guys want to come by and say hello or whatever, be sure to. I don't bite, or at least I don't bite very hard. And it's always great to see everybody in real life. I love putting a name and a face to a username. It gives it more of a real vibe, right? Like, you can always just see numbers and you don't really think much about it, but when you realize that those numbers are actually real people watching you, it's the coolest thing ever to actually meet you in real life. So please, by all means, in Toronto, come say hi. But if that's the 6 people that are going to be in the Elimination Chamber, it could very well be one of the most stacked and important chambers in WWE history. Fingers are crossed that we get Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at WrestleMania. Or I guess fingers are crossed that we get Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. Or fingers are crossed that we get Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns again. Or Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. Cody Rhodes versus Sami Zayn. I could deal with any of them. Honestly, I want any of them to win this thing, but let me know, who would you like to see win the Elimination Chamber, because that thing is stacked. The Men's Rumble did very little to advance any significant storylines. That's a hard sell for me. I don't know if I can agree with this one right here. I think that the Men's Royal Rumble did a lot to further future storylines, especially the storylines around Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. Everything that happened right there between Rollins and Reigns and Punk, just it screamed like we're building to a bigger match at WrestleMania, and I'm starting to wonder, are we getting a triple threat between Punk, Roman, and Seth? Like, we might. And I don't think that seed is planted without everything that happened in the Royal Rumble, especially with Rollins and Reigns continuing to show that they cannot stand each other. They despise each other so much that they are willing to take their eyes off the prize, and it's going to cost them at every single turn. That's exactly what happened in the Royal Rumble. They got eliminated because they were locked in on each other and not keeping their eyes on the surrounding people in the ring. I also think we started to build towards an AJ Styles versus Logan Paul match for WrestleMania, or at least that's the match that I would book coming out of it, with Logan Paul eliminating AJ Styles and just whipping him down to the ground. So there might be something there as well. And then, of course, you have whatever's going on with Drew McIntyre. We're going to talk about him more in just a little bit, but there's something weird going on with Drew, the whole backstage stuff that came out on Twitter. I don't know if it's a work or a shoot or what's going on there, but Drew McIntyre getting eliminated in the spot that he did leads me to believe that he's going to continue to be very, very pissed off, and I don't know if that means we're looking at Drew versus Damian in the near future. And then I also think the Men's Royal Rumble did a great job of calling back to previous storylines. You know, the Chad Gable and Otis storyline that was going on, the touching of the Penta and Rey Mysterio with all their history that they have, and of course it being a dream match between Penta and Rey in WWE. And then the rest of the Rumble was really all about just establishing the stars that you have. I mean, Braun Breaker looked like $1 million. Unfortunate for Ludwig Kaiser. I thought he was going to look a lot better in the Rumble. Chad Gable continues to hate luchadors, and they also continued the feud with Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman, with Braun eliminating Jacob, so there's gonna be another match between those two at some point as well. And I'm sure there's other things that I'm missing as well from this Rumble, but I don't really agree with this statement that the Men's Royal Rumble didn't do anything to advance storylines. I think they did a great job. Oh boy, all right, this is a hot take. I am sorry to be that guy. No, you're not. But in my opinion, this is the worst out of the 2 Rumble winners. Charlotte is at this point in her career where she can wave her hand, play the "my dad is Ric Flair" card, and get a title match immediately. Instead, she steals the opportunity of winning the Rumble. Stealing is wild. Steals the opportunity of winning the Rumble from someone who would benefit most from it, like Io Sky. At least the Men's Rumble was won by someone who in all honesty deserved it, but it was just the wrong time for Jay. Woo! Wow! The 65,000 people in the arena that were wooing Charlotte Flair and cheering for her winning the Rumble tend to disagree about this hot take right here, but let's get into it. The whole thing about "my dad is Ric Flair." Sure, all right, I understand where you're coming from that, but not in 2025. If we're talking about 2014, maybe, all right, to get an opportunity on NXT, maybe she waved the "my dad is Ric Flair," but that's just being a second-generation superstar. I hate this narrative that Charlotte Flair is only where she's at because of her dad. Charlotte Flair is legitimately one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. Point blank, period. No debate. No one in the history of WWE has done what Charlotte Flair has done. Nobody is as revered in the ring by like the actual people in the business than Charlotte Flair. Everything she touches turns to gold, and it's crazy to sit here and say that the only reason she's here is because of her dad. Like, all you have to do is listen to the crowd. They react to Charlotte Flair. They care about her. Yeah, sure, she chops like her dad and the crowd woos, but that's just called continuing on the legacy, taking something that Ric Flair did and making it your own as well. It's paying homage to your dad while getting the crowd entirely behind you. Also, let's not pretend that the rest of the WWE universe doesn't woo every time that there's a chop. Every single time there's a chop, people woo! But you could also argue that at least within WWE, Charlotte Flair has surpassed what Ric Flair has done. Yes, I know Ric Flair before he got to WWE and all his outside accolades are definitely incredibly important, and we cannot downplay that from Ric Flair. Ric Flair is one of the most important wrestlers in the history of this business. But Charlotte Flair is also one of the most important wrestlers in women's wrestling history, and WWE literally had this woman main event of WrestleMania, and I don't think that match would have main evented WrestleMania without Charlotte Flair. Like, you could argue that people don't like Flair because she really is that good, right? And if that was your take, that you don't like Flair because she's getting all the opportunities and that she just is that much better and seems that much better than everybody else, and you want to see someone else get that opportunity, then good, it's working, because I think Charlotte Flair is a heel. Everything about this package of Charlotte Flair, everything about her return, the promo leading into her return, it was a heel promo. This is Charlotte Flair being a Flair. Woo! It's what she does. It's what the family does. And they are at their best when they are a heel. It doesn't matter if it's Rick or Charlotte. They are at their best when they are a heel. And while the crowd certainly cheered for Charlotte Flair here tonight because it's a returning legend in the making, like, she's a future Hall of Famer, and she just came back from a year-long injury hiatus, right? People were going to react positively to Charlotte Flair, but you can already see the online narrative starting to switch a little bit. People not loving that Flair won this thing. Somebody wanted somebody else to win. Another person wanted EO, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is that Charlotte Flair is the Royal Rumble winner, and she's going to WrestleMania. And she's probably winning the title from Tiffany there. I know you're not going to like hearing that, but I think Charlotte Flair is winning the title from Tiffany at WrestleMania. And then we're building to Tiffany Charlotte 2 at SummerSlam. All in all, though, this take right here, the My Dad is Ric Flair, I think we need to drop that because Charlotte Flair is her own lady and she is damn good at it. Logan Paul single-handedly ruined the Rumble, entering at number 30 and eliminating legends like AJ and Punk, who were favorites to win the match. I thought he was going to win for a sec. Good. Yeah, I'm glad Logan Paul made you hate him. I'm glad Logan Paul made you think that he was going to win for a second. He did his job. I think Logan Paul crushed it in the Royal Rumble, and every single time I see Logan Paul out there, I'm more impressed by him. You don't gotta love the guy, all right? But the fact that he is a heel, and he is truly getting heel heat from the crowd, and it's because they just don't like him. It's nothing to do with pro wrestling. They just don't like Logan Paul. But you can't deny he's good at what he does, man. He nailed every single spot. He looked great in the ring. I just don't know if maybe he is the one that tried to get himself a little more over in this Rumble or whatever. Like, there's rumors going around right now that the people in the Rumble, there was multiple people in a Royal Rumble that were upset at somebody who was more focused on getting themselves over than the match over. And if we watch some stuff with Logan Paul, it did feel like he was looking at that hard cam a lot as wrestlers were waiting for him to feed into the next move. So if that's the case, Logan, you gotta stop going into business for yourself, okay? You got to definitely have the overall purpose of the show and the match at play. Like, you got to know where we're going with the story, right? And lean into that. Don't just focus on getting yourself over if it was Logan Paul. But anyways, I think Logan's a great heel. People despise him, and he had a great showing in the Royal Rumble. Eliminating legends, getting heat for eliminating a legend, yeah, it's not a bad thing. But speaking about the Royal Rumble match and people not necessarily being happy with how it went, one person who was not thrilled was Drew McIntyre. Johnny Wrestling Fan says, I'm not sure if it's a work or not, but apparently when Drew got to the back, he was screaming screaming and cursing. He stormed out of the building well before the Rumble match ended. Raw on Monday is going to be wild. I'm getting Survivor Series 2023 vibes right here. If you remember when CM Punk returned to WWE, there was a lot of rumors going on that people were legitimately upset in WWE and that they didn't know he was going to be there. And one of the people who apparently stormed off and was cursing backstage and all that was Drew McIntyre. He was really upset that Punk was back, or at least that's what the rumor was, and so they continued to run with it. And I think there's been some other stuff as well with Drew McIntyre. Like, he was on Busted Open Radio talking about how he was frustrated. Like, I just think it's either A, this guy, Drew McIntyre, is really frustrated with everything going on in his job right now, and he's being a lot more vocal about it, and he's not biting his tongue anymore. Or B, the character, Drew McIntyre, is very frustrated, and he is blurring those lines of reality, and I'm leaning towards that. I personally think that the dirt sheets are being worked right now heavily by WWE. There's certain people who buy more so into the rumors than others, and it's like if they hear it once from somebody, they're like, that has to be what happened, right? I think of Dave Meltzer when I'm talking about this, and I'm not trying to shoot on Dave, but like, it does feel like a lot of rumors that have been out there lately have been debunked super duper quickly, and it's like he's being fed false information and he's being worked, and they're using Dave Meltzer to try to develop storylines. It's a wild time that we're living in, and he's not the only one either. There's others in the community that get worked all the time. Wrestlers will tell them one thing and then they'll write a whole article on it, and next thing you know, they show up in the Royal Rumble, or they show up on Raw, or they show up on SmackDown, or whatever the case may be. I feel like this is going to be one of those scenarios where this is a storyline at play. It did feel weird with Drew McIntyre getting eliminated when he did. It felt like he was being built up to be in the final bit of the Royal Rumble, maybe in the final 5, but that wasn't the case, and he's got to be upset, I would say, because Logan Paul got that opportunity and he didn't. Yet Drew has been there busting his ass for WWE. Like, 2024 was the year of Drew McIntyre with everything that he did, especially that Hell in a Cell match against CM Punk. And for him now to get to the Royal Rumble, just kind of be tossed out unceremoniously, not even in the final 5, like, I get why he would be frustrated. So if this is a real frustration thing for Drew McIntyre, I get it. But if this is a character thing, I can't wait to see where it goes. I feel like Punk's favor at this point is just setting him back from having the big moments he deserves. Interesting take. I never really thought about it this way, that CM Punk in this favor looming over his head may be preventing him from getting these big moments for like a title match at WrestleMania. It all depends on what this favor is, and if we actually see what the favor is someday. I still am lost on it. I don't even have a clue what to speculate on. Like, what could it be? But the fact that him and Roman had a moment at the Royal Rumble where Roman said we tagged together like a month ago and then got his head stomped in by Seth Rollins, it makes me wonder if we are actually going to see CM Punk and Roman Reigns fight at WrestleMania. Maybe we get a triple threat of Roman, Punk, and Seth there. Like, if we're going in that direction, man, like, what could the favor be? Seriously, what's the favor? So you might be onto something here with Punk having this favor over his head. Like, he might not be able to win these big matches until this storyline is completed, right? Again, and it also does suck. I'm thinking here that CM Punk has got to be like, man, what do I have to do to main event a WrestleMania? Like, I was the most over guy going into the Rumble. We had a great segment with Cody, and here we are now giving it to main event Jey Uso. Oh, no, yeet. I still love that Jey won, by the way. But Punk has got to be frustrated. I imagine he is, unless there is a bigger plan here, unless there is like, maybe I'll put it out there, okay, maybe they are planning to do some sort of fatal 4-way at WrestleMania. Maybe they are planning on doing Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. Like, that's a possibility. Maybe they go fatal 5-way. Maybe they do John Cena in there as well. It doesn't sound likely, but hey, neither did Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. It all depends what happens at Elimination Chamber and who wins the Chamber, and coming out of that going into Mania, who's going after Cody Rhodes. There's so many different matches we could have, man. It's just, I love it. It's so exciting right now. I think the 40 Superstar Rumbles should make a return. The rosters are absolutely stacked now. So many missed opportunities for debuts return. Other than that, good show. Lead up to Mania is gonna be huge. I know in theory this sounds like a great idea, 40 people going down to the ring and wrestling for the opportunity to go to WrestleMania, but we've done it before. We've had a 40-man Royal Rumble, and it was not great. It overstayed its welcome, and there was a lot of filler in it. A lot of people that you didn't believe could win the Royal Rumble. This year, what made this year's Royal Rumble so damn good is that a lot of people could potentially win it, and then all the moments made sense within the Rumble, and everybody who was in the Rumble felt like they belonged. Sure, was there opportunities to do more? Absolutely. Was there maybe some people that I thought should have been in the Royal Rumble? Yeah. Was it weird that Kofi Kingston didn't get a spot this year, didn't get an opportunity to get booed out of the building, maybe do something different in the Rumble? Yeah, there was definitely something there that was missed, but like, I also can't complain because the Rumble itself was awesome and it flowed so well, and it lasted like an hour and 20 minutes or something ridiculous like that. I don't know if we need another 10 extra entrants. Like, that's an extra at least 10 minutes. It's 15. It's an extra 15 minutes on the match minimum. You have to add in the fact that then people have to be eliminated as well. Like, it's ridiculous. No, the 40 people is far too much. We've seen it. We saw the 50-person Royal Rumble and the greatest Royal Rumble, and that was far too much as well. There's just no need to make people feel like there's that many people who could win, when in reality there's really only a handful. Stick to the 30 people, make it the best match you possibly can be, and make it a match where people work their ass off to be a part of, right? Like WrestleMania, wrestlers work all year long to be a part of WrestleMania. Why not have the same mindset? Work all year long to be a part of the Royal Rumble. Alexa Bliss had the pop of the night. Now here's the thing, when I'm live reacting to the wrestling, I don't actually hear a lot of the crowd because I choose not to wear headphones, because I actually hate wearing headphones while recording any videos. It's something I absolutely despise. So I can't always tell what the biggest pop of the night is, but I could certainly hear that the crowd was excited for Alexa Bliss, and rightfully so. Welcome back, Lil Miss Bliss, rocking the Fiend Forever gear and paying homage to obviously Bray Wyatt. The one thing I'm just not sure of with Alexa Bliss was that she was entrant number 21, but they also showed Alexa Bliss 21 on like the Jumbotron, and that makes me wonder, was this saying like, hey, Alexa is in her 2021 gear, like this is 2021 Alexa Bliss, and we're going to get the evolution of this character so that we get 2025 Alexa Bliss? Or is this going to be some sort of like Three Faces of Foley gimmick where she's got the sparkle Lil Miss Bliss, you know, the NXT and what was it? The goddess? Yeah, the goddess character. There we go. She had the goddess character on the main roster, and then she's got this Bray Wyatt character, and who knows what the next one is. I could see it being some sort of Three Faces of Foley gimmick. But it is so great to see Alexa Bliss back, man. I've missed her. Everybody loves Alexa Bliss. They love the storytelling that she does. And now there's just so many questions. Is she going to be a part of the Wyatt Six in some way? Is the Wyatt Six going to come after her? Like, is she going to feud with, say, Nikki Cross? There's so much that could potentially happen. Is she going to have a WrestleMania match? Was this a one-off? Is she going to be gone for the next 6 months and we don't see her again? Who knows, man? But it was great to see Alexa back in the Rumble. And we're ending it with a uber positive hot take right here, saying Jay is the worst Rumble winner since Alberto Del Rio. We're really about to get Gunther versus Jay again in the main event of WrestleMania, which A, wasn't good, and B, we just got it 7 days ago. Yeah, it's called storytelling. If we look at the rise of main event Jey Uso over the last 5 years, he has been super duper close every step of the way. But at some point, you gotta actually reward the man for getting over. He is a top merch seller. He gets the biggest reactions on any given night. People are crazy for Jey Uso. The kids love Jey Uso. So at some damn point, you gotta reward the man. And it is wild to say that this is on level with Alberto Del Rio. Look, also, let's call a fact right here. Alberto Del Rio was over and was being pushed by WWE, and they were trying to make a new star with Del Rio. That's essentially what they did here tonight with Jey Uso. They saw that he was getting great reactions. They saw that he was selling merch. He has had great main event matches on Raw and has really got people invested in his story outside of the Bloodline story. All of that is a recipe for success. It's a question of like when, not if. Like Jey Uso was going to get a main event push. His name is literally Main Event Jey Uso. But the other thing that's wild to me about this hot take right here is that we have Gunther versus Jey potentially happening at WrestleMania, and the story has been that Jey Uso has not been able to beat Gunther. He has been working his butt off to try to beat him, but he's coming up short. He pushed Gunther right to his limit. We're talking about the ring general, one of the greatest wrestlers in WWE right now. Jey Uso pushed him to his limit, and when he came that close, when he hit the spear into the Uso splash, and then that man kicked out when Gunther kicked out. Oh my God, the police wanted Jey to win. In fact, I can literally remember the internet 7 days ago saying, we need to put the World Heavyweight title on Jey Uso. We need this moment for him. Otherwise, he's going to be done. He's not going to have any room to grow, and he's just going to be mid-card event Jey Uso. That was 7 days ago. And what did they do? They had him lost 7 days ago, but then they fire it right back up and they give him the win and they say, hey, you're going to WrestleMania to try to wrestle Gunther one more time for that world title. And that is if Gunther makes it to WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion. We don't know what's going to go on inside the Elimination Chamber. We could have a completely different world champ coming out of this. I'm going to go ahead and assume Gunther is still the World Heavyweight Champion, and Jey versus Gunther with Jey finally beating Gunther is a WrestleMania caliber story, especially if it's like in an opening match. I don't think Jey is truly going to main event WrestleMania. I would be very, very surprised if it's Jey Uso Gunther main eventing night one. Now, granted, the moment with Jey Uso winning the world title and everybody yeeting with him could be worth main eventing one of your nights of WrestleMania, right? Like, I can see the vision. I can understand why that would be something WWE would want to do. But also at the same time, starting off the night, people would be very, very, very into where did Seth Rollins come from? My God. Be very into Gunther versus Jey Uso. Similar to how last year at WrestleMania, we opened one of the nights with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, and people were so into that, but it wasn't the main event, you know what I mean? Anyways, Jey Uso's going to be a World Heavyweight Champion. But that is it for your hot takes. If you enjoyed this, be sure to leave a like on this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on those notifications. And be sure to share this around with all your friends. And if you have any other hot takes that you would like to share with us, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and my goodness, Jey Uso is going to WrestleMania.